They called him the Cannibal King, a ruler so feared even his own soldiers whispered his name only at night. Some say he fed on the flesh of his enemies. Others say that was only the beginning. He built an empire out of chaos, but at what cost? Was his cruelty madness? Or strategy? And why centuries later does history still tremble at the sound of his name? Because somewhere between the myth and the massacre lies a truth no one was meant to hear. A truth buried in blood, brilliance, and betrayal. This is not the legend of Shaka Zulu. This is the truth behind his brutality. Before he became a god of war, he was a boy unwanted by his own blood. Before he commanded armies, he wandered barefoot through dust and shame, and in that exile the seed of a monster was planted. The legend begins far from the battlefield, not with victory, but with exile. His father, a Zulu chief, denied him. His tribe mocked him as a bastard, a stain upon royal honor. And so under the burning African sun, mother and son walked the earth alone, hunted by hunger, driven by shame. But pain is a teacher. Each insult became a lesson. Each rejection, a forge for the mind of a conqueror. Shaka learned early that survival demanded more than strength. It demanded cunning, patience, a will sharper than any blade. He studied the world, the way predators stalk, the way the weak obey. And in his silence something grew, a cold, disciplined fury. Years later, when fate led him to the Mthethwa under Chief Dingiswayo, the boy no one wanted became a soldier no one could ignore. Here Shaka's genius began to surface, his sense of order, his obsession with control. He transformed the way warriors moved, fought, and thought. Gone were the chaotic rushes of tribal warfare. He demanded formation, precision, and the deadly intimacy of the short spear, the Ikalwa. Every man fought face to face where hesitation meant death. He didn't just build an army, whispers the narrator. He built an idea that fear could be shaped, commanded, and turned into loyalty. From the dust of rejection rose a leader who trusted no one but the rhythm of his own ambition. The world would soon learn his name. And the blood that once marked him as an outcast would soon paint the birth of an empire. But exile had done more than harden his skin. It had sharpened his purpose. And soon, the world would learn what happens when pain learns to fight back. Among the Mthethwa, under the wise and daring Chief Dingiswayo, he found what exile had denied him, purpose. For the first time, he wasn't just fighting to survive, he was fighting to belong. Dingiswayo saw in him something others feared, a mind that studied battle not with rage, but with calculation. While others charged blindly, Shaka watched. He noticed how warriors grew tired after long chases, how their thrown spears missed when nerves faltered. He began to ask a question that would change the continent forever. What if war wasn't chaos, but order? Under his guidance, the spear was shortened, reshaped into the Ikalwa, a weapon made for close, killing distance. No longer would Zulu warriors hurl death from afar. Now they would taste it. Every strike would be personal. He drilled them relentlessly and day after day until their sweat turned to discipline and their fear to instinct. Formations tightened, shields locked. When they moved as one, a black tide of muscle and fury. But it wasn't just the weapon that changed. It was the mindset. To Shaka, weakness was a disease and mercy its symptom. He taught that hesitation was treason. That courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was obedience to him, no matter the cost. Victory, he would say, is not given by the gods. It is taken at one heartbeat at a time. His rise was inevitable. When Dingiswayo fell in battle, the tribes mourned. But Shaka saw something else in the ashes. Opportunity. He gathered what remained of his warriors and whispered a new vision. A Zulu kingdom forged by discipline and terror, bound not by blood but by fear and glory. Soon, the outcast boy had become something the world had never seen. A commander who ruled not just men, but the very rhythm of death itself. And as his enemies looked upon the new Zulu army marching across the hills, one truth echoed through every trembling heart. The warrior had become a king in waiting. When Shaka seized the Zulu throne, the land trembled beneath his vision. Villages were absorbed, tribes erased. The Zulu kingdom grew not through peace but through fear, a living storm that devoured everything in its path. He commanded his warriors as if they were extensions of his will, men molded from discipline and terror. Those who faltered were executed before the ranks. Those who triumphed were rewarded with his approval, the rarest gift of all. To outsiders he became legend and nightmare both. Stories spread, of men impaled on stakes, of enemies left for the vultures, of warriors forced to dance on the corpses of the defeated. And somewhere between truth and terror, another name was born, the Cannibal King. But not all the tales were lies. Shaka understood the psychology of fear. He knew that to rule in an age of chaos, one must become the chaos itself. His brutality was not madness, it was method. A weapon forged to keep order where none had ever existed. "They will call me savage," he once said. But savagery is only the mask that keeps men obedient. And so, his empire grew, a network of spies, warriors, and loyal chiefs who feared him more than death. He burned villages that defied him. He forced captured enemies into his regiments, turning former foes into soldiers who'd kill for his name. Each campaign was a ritual of blood and rebirth, but every empire built on fear carries its own shadow. As his power expanded, so did his paranoia. He trusted no one, not his generals, not his family, not even the spirits of his ancestors, and beneath the surface of glory, the darkness that once fueled him began to consume him. The Cannibal King was no longer just feared by the world, he was feared by his own reflection. For years the earth had trembled beneath Shaka's rule, but even gods bleed. And when his mother, Nandi, the one soul he had ever truly loved, died, something inside him shattered beyond repair. They say a kingdom mourns with its king. But Shaka demanded more than mourning. He demanded madness. No crops were to be planted. No milk was to be drunk. Pregnant women were executed for bringing new life while death still walked among them. Even laughter became a crime. For a full year, the Zulu nation lived in silence and starvation. The empire that had once marched in perfect rhythm now trapped in the slow decay of its ruler's grief. The man who had conquered Africa's heart, the narrator murmurs, could not conquer his own. His generals began to whisper. His people began to starve. And the god who once commanded storms now wandered his palace halls, speaking to ghosts. Paranoia consumed him. He saw betrayal in every glance, treason in every breath. He killed his most trusted advisors, and soon his own brothers feared they would be next. On a cold September day in 1828, his half-brothers Dingane and Malangana made their move. While Shaka stood beside his hut, staring into the fading sun, the assassins approached. Their spears struck deep, the same weapon he had once perfected. He turned, disbelief in his eyes. Not rage, not fear. Only recognition. Perhaps he knew the prophecy he had fulfilled, that every empire born from terror must end in silence. As he fell, his blood sank into the earth he had ruled, and the world exhaled. The drums stopped. The storm had passed. The god of war was dead, the voice whispers, and the kingdom he built from fear would never know peace again. The body of Shaka Zulu was buried in secret. No monument marked his grave. No songs dared speak his name aloud, and yet, centuries later, his shadow still walks across Africa's memory. A ghost woven into the soil itself. They called him the Cannibal King, the Blood Emperor, the tyrant of the spears. But those who look closer see something else, a mind that saw beyond chaos, a man who built unity from fear, discipline from destruction. He turned scattered tribes into an empire that would outlive him. And though his methods were monstrous, his vision was clear. Was he mad? The narrator asks softly. Or was he simply the mirror of the world around him? Colonial chroniclers would brand him savage, a beast who ruled with brutality. But they feared what he truly represented, a ruler who needed no white crown to command nations. They wrote of his cruelty, but not of the cruelty that surrounded him, the slave raids, the invasions, the blood spilled in foreign names. Shaka's legend became a weapon long after his death, twisted by empires, reshaped by storytellers. And yet beneath every retelling his truth endures. That power once born of pain can never be gentle. That greatness and madness are often the same flame, burning bright enough to light the world, or to destroy it. So when the night falls over the Zulu lands, and the fire crackles low, some still whisper his name, not in fear, not in worship, but in awe. For even monsters, the voice fades, leave footprints deep enough for the world to follow.